Greetings everyone and welcome to Revolution of Reality, a docu-series that seeks to bring science and spirituality closer together through telepathy experiments. In this episode, I'll describe how science and spirituality could collaborate to bring about the revolution in physics that both sides are ardently hoping for. In the scientific debate between spirituality and science, parapsychology can be seen as the scientific arm of spirituality. It encompasses the scientific study of phenomena such as extrasensory perception, mind over matter, ghost or spirit encounters, mediumship and channeling, out-of-body experiences, including near-death experiences, and past life memories. These parapsychological phenomena are collectively referred to as psi. As far as the scientific community is concerned, these phenomena are simply not possible, according to the standard model of physics. And as someone who studied physics, I completely agree with that. So, there's no way for parapsychology and mainstream science to have a meaningful debate about these phenomena, or anything to do with spirituality, unless they can get onto the same page when it comes to physics. This seems extremely unlikely, but in this video I will show how it could be done with parapsychological experiments such as telepathy. My intention is to arrange these experiments, so let's take a look at what these experiments will entail. As described in my previous video, parapsychology's struggle for credibility received a significant boost in 2018 when an article by parapsychologist Etzel Cardania was accepted for publication in a top-tier mainstream science journal, The American Psychologist. The article describes various psi experiments which have been successful in exceeding a very high standard of probability known as 5 sigma. And in the case of telepathy, this stringent standard was exceeded by a factor of 300 million. However, Cardania's article soon came under fire from detractors, and in 2019, a rebuttal of Cardania's article was authored by Arthur Reber and James Alcock, who argue that parapsychological claims cannot be true. We did not examine the data for psi, said the authors, because the data are irrelevant. We identified 4 fundamental principles of science that psi effects would violate: causality, times arrow, thermodynamics, and the inverse square law. They therefore conclude that psychic abilities are not possible, and claiming that they are is like claiming that pigs can fly. Pigs cannot fly, they say, hence data that show they can are the result of flawed methodology, weak controls, inappropriate data analysis, or fraud. In short, parapsychology cannot be true unless the rest of science isn't. So according to the authors, parapsychologists are searching for the impossible. And these were the words that were used in the title when Reber and Alcock's article was published by the American Psychologist in 2020. So now we have 2 opposing scientific claims, peer-reviewed and published by the same top-tier journal. One claims that psychic abilities are real, based on experimental evidence, and the other claims that psychic abilities are impossible, based on scientific theory, such as laws of physics. So the stage has been set for a showdown to find out if psychic abilities can be validated in the presence of skeptical scientists. And hopefully the 4 scientists I have mentioned will be available to preside over jointly conducted experiments. If not, anyone else with similar qualifications and perspectives can take up the challenge of parapsychology versus mainstream science, which I will call the Psi Challenge. An important goal of the Psi Challenge is that the experiments be approved by physicists, and that physics be a central focus of the challenge. So the parapsychology team would be joined by a physicist that supports parapsychology, and the mainstream science team would be joined by a physicist skeptical of parapsychology. The initial scope of the project would be telepathy and presentiment experiments only, in the spirit of keeping things as simple as possible for now. These 2 experiments were described in my previous video. Telepathy experiments support the theory that space is an illusion, and presentiment experiments support the theory that time is an illusion. The particular feature of telepathy experiments that demonstrate space is an illusion is that results do not vary with distance. So we can expect to see the same results whether the sender and receiver are close together or on different continents. And intercontinental telepathy tests will indeed be used in the Psi challenge. The experiments would be conducted according to a mutually agreed methodology involving stringent controls, such that both sides would be satisfied with the outcome. The criterion for successful validation of telepathy and presentiment would be a mutually agreed high statistical standard, for example 7 sigma, an enormously high standard, but that's to be expected since extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. The goal of the challenge would be to establish the validity of Psi and also to demonstrate the mutual benefits of an ongoing collaboration between parapsychology and mainstream science. The notion of mutual benefits stems from the fact that these two parties are actually on the same page about something when it comes to physics theory. They both strongly believe that space and time are an illusion, or in physics terminology, space-time is emergent. Parapsychologists believe space and time are an illusion based on evidence, such as the experiments I've just mentioned, and theoretical physicists believe space and time are an illusion based on theory. The idea that space-time is emergent or an illusion has recently gained widespread agreement among theoretical physicists, as I discussed in episode 7, which you can review in the link above. In a nutshell, emergent space-time theorizes that there is a deeper level of reality that has yet to be discovered, in which space and time do not exist. This deeper level is based on some type of new physics, in which spaceless, timeless components combine to form space and time. Nima Arkani Hamed, physics professor at the Institute of Advanced Study in Princeton, has been giving lectures around the world for more than a decade on the end of space-time, which refers to space-time being emergent. Here are 2 statements from a public talk in 2014.
We very strongly believe that space-time doesn't really exist.
You're pretty well certain space and time have got to go, yeah?
I think almost all of us are certain that space and time have got to go.
So at this point, emergent space-time is a popular theory based on strong theoretical arguments. But like thousands of other theories, it lacks the supporting evidence that would turn it into a successful, accepted theory. Telepathy and presentiment could provide a source of supporting evidence, if they are validated. This evidence wouldn't prove that space-time is emergent all on its own, but it could lead there, and that should be of tremendous interest to physicists in the context of the current crisis in physics, in which any evidence of new physics is in critical demand. To understand the nature of this crisis, let's take a quick look at something that most of us can relate to: school physics. The basic premise of school physics is that everything is made of particles. All the elements in our world and all the objects in our world are formed from just 3 basic particles: electrons, protons, and neutrons. We can think of this as the standard model of school physics. However, school physics is based on physics as it was about 100 years ago, and a lot has changed since then. In mainstream physics, which is taught at university, the current standard model has more particles in it, and the details of the model are much more complex. What's more, the model has various deficiencies, and these deficiencies are the source of the crisis. The most critical problem is the quantum gravity problem, which I described in episode 7. The mainstream perspective over the last half-century is that the deficiencies apply to extreme scales only. For example, physics breaks down at the instant of the Big Bang, or at the center of a black hole. But apart from that, it is claimed that the laws of physics successfully describe all known phenomena. The deficiencies are mathematical inconsistencies in physics theory, generally believed to arise as a result of hidden physics. In other words, undiscovered new physics that exists inside the atom at a deeper level. a level too microscopic to be discovered by existing technology. This new physics could be in the form of new particles, mini black holes, extra dimensions, or something completely unexpected. The technology used to search for new physics at a deeper level is the particle collider. The problem is that the largest particle collider has found no new physics over the last decade. Building a bigger collider to continue the search for new physics would be a huge project that would span about 30 to 40 years. But only if it receives funding from a large international coalition of governments, which seems unlikely at this point. So now, particle physics is stuck, perhaps even stuck indefinitely, and that is the real crisis.
At this point, we're absolutely stuck. We absolutely don't know where we're heading.
In the meantime, the physics community is pushing hard to get funding for the biggest machine ever built, a monstrous 100-kilometer-long collider near Geneva in Switzerland. The sheer enormity of this project shows how vitally important it is to the future of physics that evidence of new physics be found, since the standard model has critical deficiencies. Of all the types of new physics that a new collider could discover, the most exciting one would be the most unexpected one, because the purpose of the collider is to search for new physics that breaks the standard model. In fact, the most ideal new physics is something that breaks the current laws of physics in the most thoroughly unexpected way. The more unexpected the new physics is, the more it will create research opportunities in a field that is stuck. So, if telepathy and presentiment were validated, it would be a perfect match for the type of new physics that physicists are hunting for. It breaks the current laws of physics as thoroughly and unexpectedly as flying pigs. It could mean that there is no need to wait decades in hopes of a new collider, because new physics does not lie hidden inside the atom. It lies in emergent space-time. This new physics of space-time illusion would involve a radical and shocking paradigm shift that would open up many exciting new avenues for physicists. It could mean that parapsychology and mainstream physics are actually on the same page, although for different reasons, and each side has exactly what the other side needs. Physicists need evidence to validate their theories, and parapsychologists need physics theory to be on their side in order to gain legitimacy in the scientific community. The marriage of evidence and theory are crucial to both sides, and it could be the start of an ongoing collaboration, which I will describe in future videos. So the side challenge is not about finding a winner and a loser, but rather about showing how both sides would benefit if psi were validated. In my next video, I will further discuss the nightmare scenario in physics that could make physicists increasingly interested in psi as a source of scientific evidence.